Hello, YouTube. I'm John, and I have something to say. Are you awake? Are you awake? Wake up. Wake up. Wake up! I hope I have your attention. Take your noses out of your cell phones and out of your day-to-day lives and look in the world at what's going on around you. I came across something today. I'm not a big rap fan. In fact, I don't care for rap at all. But a rapper by the name of Nipsey Hussle was gunned down in California yesterday. And I think he may have met his end because he was speaking out about the death of another man by the name of Dr. Sebi, who apparently, and I've looked a little into it today, but apparently through dietary means had cured several illnesses, including blindness in one and possibly AIDS and some others. I don't know the validity of all that, but that gentleman died a few years back while in custody out of country. And I think Big Pharma may have had something to do with that. Moving on from that, when we're talking about liberties here, what we believe through our fogged, diluted state we have as freedom in this country has been greatly eroded or completely eroded away at this point. There's another gentleman by the name of Schaeffer Cox who's been in jail, I believe, since 2011 for speaking out against the government and corruption in Alaska. Child sex trafficking by politicians and drugs. And he's in a mini Gitmo. It's a prison within a prison, super top secret in Indiana today. His rights have been violated. He was railroaded. And for all these stories, I have a lot of news today, but for every one of these items, I'm going to put a link in the description box below. I encourage every one of you to take a look at these and open your eyes because it gets worse. I'd say the story gets better, but it gets worse from here. I don't know if many of you are aware that Lincoln had severe concerns. President Lincoln had concerns about the Jesuits in the Catholic Church back during his presidency. He was assassinated. Kennedy was speaking out. He was assassinated. The CIA, if many of you are aware, had a mind control program called MK Ultra, which was supposedly discontinued back in the 70s, I believe. But it doesn't mean that other programs haven't gone on from there. And I'm probably a target today for speaking about it, but many of these gun shootings, the shootings in Vegas and other places that they use for excuses to try to take our gun rights away vis-a-vis the Second Amendment, I would propose that many of those are initiated by the CIA. And to kind of go a step further, just to back that up a little bit, and I'll put the link to this one below as well. When President Reagan took office, he had a meeting of his cabinet heads, and the director of the CIA at the time, when Reagan asked for them to give descriptions of what they thought that the mission was of their agencies, Director William Casey replied, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. Most recently, we have the former director under Obama, Brennan of the CIA, speaking, and you would think this guy has the inside scoop on everything, right? But he's pushing a false narrative of Trump being a traitor. He said it several times. Not a huge Trump supporter myself, but when you're the director of the CIA and you have the information, but you give false information to the public, and the report comes out regarding collusion, and there's no news there was no collusion. We have a former director of the CIA intentionally trying to bring down a president because people should be thinking in the narrative when he's speaking that he has inside information from his time at the CIA, that the information or the propaganda he's pushing on the public is true, when in fact it was all disinformation. I want to get into the other item And this, again, all these links will be in the description below. But I find it rather amazing that even from 9/11, I mean, you need to take a look at the entire history here. And from a biblical perspective, the Father, the Lord of hosts, it's his story, history, right? So if you look back to Ruby Ridge, Waco, or if you even want to look at 9/11, I have a link for more accurate information than the propaganda the mainstream media has fed the public for some time. I find it amazing that a day before the attacks, $2 trillion is missing from the Pentagon, and the wing, one of 5 wings in the Pentagon that is looking into that lost revenue, is the section that's hit by a plane. And then the controlled demolition of Building 7. If that was controlled demolition, then frankly, they had to have that demolition in before, which means they had foreknowledge of the attacks. And to go a step further, the CIA back in the 70s had gone through programs and operations for swapping airliners out, passenger airliners out in flight with alternate aircraft that would be tracked by radar to their target. So you can look into that as well. Now, from there, I want to go to the next topic, which is, and I think things are really kind of crazy from our perspective of what our illusion of freedom is. There's a video out there that I'd recommend everybody watch, and it'll give you a real clear picture of what your perception is versus what reality is with regard to your freedoms. And that's called Mr. Jones Plantation. And I'll say again at the end of the video, I'll remind you to watch that one. It's very eye-opening. There's a new trend among billionaires and millionaires. In New Zealand, there's a fast-growing movement consisting of billionaires from Silicon Valley and Wall Street, preppers who have been secretly buying up vast tracts of land in New Zealand, which they're putting their bunkers in. Why is that interesting? Well, just this last week, we have a shooting in New Zealand, and the first inkling of the New Zealand government is to ban all guns. And the reason this is happening, I believe, is because when these billionaires bug out to their locations, they don't want the peasants showing up with actual weapons that can harm them. They want them showing up with pitchforks. And this is kind of goes to the whole gun delusion or notion of taking away Second Amendment rights. Here's the history. I'm going to give you the history here. The link will be below again. Of when governments take away your right to stand up against them vis-a-vis the Second Amendment and your ability to protect your home, your property, your family from a tyrannical government. Let me go through the history here. And this is just in the past 150 years. In 1911, Turkey disarmed its citizens, and between 1915 and 1917, they murdered 1.5 million Armenians. In 1929, Russia disarmed its citizens, and between 1929 and 1953, they murdered 20 million Russians. In 1935, China disarmed its citizens, and between 1948 and 1952, they murdered 20 million Chinese. In 1938, Germany disarmed its citizens, and between 1939 and 1945, they murdered 16 million Jews. In 1956, Cambodia disarmed its citizens, and between 1975 and 77, they murdered 1 million educated people. In 1964, Guatemala disarmed its citizens, and between 1964 and 1981, they murdered 100,000 Mayan Indians. In 1970, Uganda disarmed its citizens, and between 1971 and 1979, they murdered 300,000 Christians. So when you hear the hysteria from these politicians, when a gun or a semi-automatic weapon or a fully automatic weapon is just a tool, right? But if you want to stand up against tyranny, you need to have the same tools that the government has. Trump here this last week tried to ban bump stock weapons. And Lindsey Graham, who's supposedly a hawk, just this last week had hearings to encourage or entice states to implement red flag laws, which is allowing the authorities, if somebody brings an issue about a particular gun owner to a judge without due process, can have the police, by court order, go and take that person's weapons from them at the point of a gun. I'd also get into kind of the leftist paradigm. Not only do they want to take your weapons and control every aspect of your life, like AOC, Bernie Sanders, they want communism. Look at how well it's working in Argentina. Look at how well socialism is working in California. People are fleeing California. Next, I want to go to this bit of news. Obama returns the seat of Satan. This is in Germany on April 6th, which is the Israeli New Year, the first of their New Year. He will be giving a speech at the seat of Satan in Germany, which is originally, it was moved to Germany from Turkey by Adolf Hitler. This is literally where Satan's seat is on this earth, and Obama has been there several times. On April 9th, Israel will be holding its elections, and shortly thereafter, a peace treaty will be introduced by Jared, the son-in-law of the President of the United States. There's another site I'd like you to visit too. It's Mike Morales. He does kind of a commentary on what he sees in the skies around the world from satellite imagery of what the surface cloud layer looks like, and points out all the geoengineering going on, which has been going on for over 20 years. They're trying to block our sun. They're spraying aluminum particulates amongst other chemicals into the atmosphere. And the funny thing about this, and I came to this conclusion, we already have a one world government. We already are on our way, or very close to having world war religion. And we're going to have a one world currency as soon as they crash this current system, which is very close. So with regard to the chemtrails or the geoengineering, the funny thing is every country has sovereign airspace. So when and this guy's documenting it, this Mike Morales is documenting it, the patterns, you can see the tracks and things, and it's not condensation in the air from the engines. This stuff sticks around because the condensation left behind jet airplanes dissipates in very short order. It doesn't hang around like a cloud layer. So with regard to having sovereign airspace, to have these planes virtually spraying everywhere around the planet, it's not from one government. It's organized. It's consistent. It's in your face if you'll open your eyes and wake up. So I'll just close with this. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And that's really the theme of this video. You need to wake up and look at what's going on around you. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about you with truth, and having the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take the shield of faith, with ye shield be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Jesus Christ is the Word. He is the only one who can save you. He's the only one who will be arbiter, stand by you when you give your accounting of your life before the Father. God bless you.